Good evening, my friend. As I sit here in the gentle quiet of this evening, with just a soft lamp casting its warm yellow glow across my living room, I can feel the weight of this day settling into my bones. There's something sacred about these twilight moments, isn't there? When the world begins to slow down and we finally have space to breathe. Today has been, well, it's been a day, hasn't it? Some moments were beautiful, others challenging, but all of them were gifts wrapped in the ordinary hours that make up our lives. Tonight, before we let sleep carry us into tomorrow, I want to pause with you and remember something beautiful. I want us to take this moment together to thank our Lord for the precious gift of this day. The psalmist reminds us in Psalm 118, verse 24, "This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it." Even now, as this day draws to its close, we can still rejoice in what He has given us. Before we begin this prayer together, I'd love to know where you're joining me from tonight. Drop a comment and let me know your city or country. If this prayer blesses your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to join our community of believers seeking peace in God's presence. Now let's quiet our hearts and step into this sacred time of thanksgiving together. I woke up this morning and my lungs filled with air. That's miracle number one, my friend. Without any conscious effort on my part, my body drew in breath after breath, each one a gift from the Creator who formed me in my mother's womb. As my eyes opened to the soft light filtering through my bedroom curtains, I witnessed the sun beginning its daily journey across the sky. The same sun that has risen faithfully every morning for thousands of years, painting the world in shades of gold and amber. My feet touched the cool hardwood floor, and I felt the solid earth beneath me. How many people woke up this morning unable to take that simple step yet? Here I was granted another day to walk, to move, to experience the world through legs that carry me where I need to go. In my kitchen, I turned a handle, and clean, fresh water flowed from the tap. Water that traveled through miles of pipes, treated and purified, arriving at my home without any effort from me. I opened my refrigerator and found food nourishment for my body sustenance that came from farms I've never seen harvested by hands. I'll never shake, yet somehow made its way to my table. The first text message of the day appeared on my phone. It was from my sister, just checking in, wanting to know how I was doing. In that simple message, I felt the warmth of connection, the blessing of someone who cares enough to reach across the miles just to say hello. Later at the coffee shop, the young barista smiled genuinely when she handed me my order. That smile, offered freely to a stranger, was a small light in what could have been just another transaction. I remember earlier today I was feeling overwhelmed about a project at work. The deadline seemed impossible, the requirements kept changing, and I felt like I was swimming against a current that was stronger than me. But then, almost as if orchestrated by divine hands, my phone rang. It was an old mentor, someone I hadn't spoken to in months, calling just to check in. As we talked, he shared some advice that was exactly what I needed to hear, exactly when I needed to hear it. He sees what we need before we even know we need it. Doesn't he? There's a beautiful choreography to God's provision, a timing so perfect it takes your breath away when you stop to notice it. Even the difficult moments today, the ones that stretched my patience and tested my faith, taught me something valuable about perseverance, about trusting when I can't see the whole picture. A colleague who usually keeps to herself stopped by my desk just to say she appreciated my help on a recent project. Her words came at the exact moment when I was questioning whether my work even mattered. How does God arrange these moments of encouragement to arrive precisely when our hearts need them most? But you know, sometimes we get so busy counting what went wrong that we forget to celebrate what went right. I'll be honest with you tonight. Today wasn't perfect. There were moments when my patience wore thin, times when I responded to stress with frustration instead of grace. Around mid-morning when my computer crashed and I lost an hour's worth of work, I felt my jaw clench and my shoulders tense up in that familiar way that tells me I'm not handling things as well as I'd like to. There was this moment around 3 o'clock when everything seemed to hit at once. My phone was ringing with what felt like the 10th urgent call of the day. My email inbox was overflowing with requests that all seemed to need immediate attention, and I had that sinking feeling that no matter how hard I worked, I'd never catch up. My heart started beating faster. My mind began racing through all the things I still needed to accomplish, and that overwhelming sense of being behind crept in like a familiar, unwelcome visitor. I snapped at someone I care about. The words came out sharper than I intended, carrying the weight of my stress rather than the love I actually feel for them. You know that feeling when you wish you could rewind time by just 30 seconds. When you see the hurt flash across someone's face and realize that your bad day just became their difficult moment too. By evening, my shoulders were carrying the tension of 8 hours of trying to keep up with demands that seemed to multiply faster than I could meet them. My eyes felt heavy, not just from tiredness, but from staring at screens, from focusing so intently on problems that needed solving. The to-do list that I had written so optimistically that morning was still half undone, with several items moved to tomorrow's list for the 3rd time this week. There are bills sitting on my kitchen counter that represent financial pressure I feel in my chest like a weight. Health concerns that I keep meaning to address, but somehow never find time for. Relationships in my life that need more attention, more intention, more of the emotional energy that feels depleted by the end of days, like today. Some things I plan to accomplish today, well, they're still waiting. That important phone call I was supposed to make sits on my list, reminding me of my human limitations. The exercise routine I promised myself I'd start the book I've been meaning to read, the friend I keep saying I'll visit soon, but somehow never do. Maybe you had moments like this too today. Maybe you also felt the familiar frustration of traffic that seemed longer than usual, or dealt with technology that chose today to malfunction, or navigated a conversation that didn't go the way you hoped it would. Perhaps you also looked at your reflection tonight and saw someone who's trying their best but still falling short of their own expectations. But here's what I'm learning about God's love, what I'm discovering about His heart toward us in our imperfection. Even in our weariness, even in our moments of impatience and shortcoming, His love doesn't waver. Even in our humanity, even in our need for grace, He calls us His beloved children. You know what amazes me? God doesn't just show up in the big dramatic moments of life. He's there in the ordinary, in the everyday, in the small details that we often overlook because we're rushing towards something we think is more important. This morning as I made my coffee, I really paid attention for once, instead of just going through the motions. The rich aroma that filled my kitchen as the hot water met the ground beans, the gentle sound of liquid flowing into my mug, the steam rising in delicate spirals toward the ceiling. Those coffee beans traveled from somewhere far away, maybe a mountainside in Colombia or a farm in Ethiopia, tended by hands that worked under different skies, but shared the same sun that was now warming my kitchen window. Think about the miracle hidden in that simple morning ritual. The rain that watered those coffee plants, the soil that nourished them, the farmers who carefully harvested each bean, the countless people involved in bringing that small comfort to my morning. The ship that carried those beans across oceans, the truck drivers who transported them, the roasters who transformed them, the store workers who stocked them on shelves. All of this collaboration, this invisible network of provision, just so I could start my day with something warm and familiar. Later, I was stuck in traffic, and instead of letting frustration take over, I decided to look around. Really look. I watched children walking to school, their backpacks bouncing as they laughed at something only they found funny. I saw a man helping an elderly woman cross the street, taking time out of his morning to ensure her safety. I noticed a mother patiently teaching her young son to look both ways before crossing, investing in his future with each careful lesson. Suddenly, I wasn't stuck in traffic anymore. I was witnessing life happening all around me, small acts of care and connection playing out in every direction. I realized that my impatience had been causing me to miss these beautiful moments of humanity that were unfolding right before my eyes. During my lunch break, I stepped outside for just 5 minutes to escape the fluorescent lights and recycled air of the office. The moment I walked through those doors, I was greeted by a symphony I hadn't taken time to notice in weeks. Birds were singing in the trees that lined the parking lot, their songs weaving together in harmonies that no human composer could orchestrate. The wind moved through the leaves with a gentle rustling that seemed to whisper secrets about peace and patience. I looked up and watched clouds moving slowly across the vast blue canvas of the sky, shapes shifting and changing like thoughts drifting through the mind of God. When did I stop noticing these things? When did the miracle of a world in constant beautiful motion become invisible to me because I was always looking down at my phone or ahead to my next appointment? The checkout lady at the grocery store tonight had tired eyes. I could tell it had been a long day for her too, but when she handed me my receipt, she looked right at me and said, "Have a blessed evening," and I could tell she meant it. In that moment, God spoke to me through an ordinary person doing an ordinary job, reminding me that His love often comes to us through the kindness of strangers who choose to see us as more than just another customer, another transaction, another face in their endless day. Even my phone. This device I sometimes view as a distraction became a tool of blessing today when it connected me to my daughter, who lives 3 states away. Her voice, transmitted through signals and satellites, bridged the distance between us in an instant. We laughed together about something silly her cat did, and for those few minutes, the miles between us disappeared completely. The food on my table tonight represents another invisible network of blessing. The farmers who planted and tended the crops, the workers who harvested them, the truck drivers who transported them, the store employees who arranged them beautifully in displays. All of these people, most of whom I'll never meet, played a part in nourishing my body tonight. By the time evening came, I realized something profound had shifted in my perspective. I'm sitting here looking at my list of things left undone, and I feel that familiar pressure building in my chest. There are emails that arrived late in the day that I didn't have energy to answer thoughtfully. Phone calls I promised to make, but ran out of time for. A project that's halfway finished, sitting on my desk like an accusation of my limitations. But tonight, something feels different about this incompleteness that usually frustrates me so much. Tonight, I'm wondering if these unfinished things might actually be opportunities to practice something I struggle with: releasing control and trusting God's timing instead of my own. 6 months ago, I started a project that I was convinced would change everything for my family. I researched, planned, invested time and money, worked late into too many evenings, because I was certain this was the breakthrough we'd been praying for. The initial excitement carried me through weeks of hard work, but then obstacles started appearing that I hadn't anticipated. Doors that seemed open suddenly closed. People who had promised to help became unavailable. Funding that seemed secure fell through. I kept pushing, trying to force timing that felt wrong, but looked right on paper. I made phone calls that went unreturned, sent proposals that were rejected, had meetings that led nowhere. With each setback, I worked harder, convinced that if I just tried more, planned better, networked smarter, I could make this happen through sheer determination. But tonight, sitting in the quiet of my living room, I'm wondering something that feels both terrifying and liberating. What if God's timing is different from mine? What if these delays aren't denials, but divine preparation? What if I'm not ready for some of the things I've been asking for? I think about Joseph, sold by his brothers and imprisoned for years before becoming second in command of Egypt. Those prison years probably felt like wasted time, like God had forgotten his promises. But looking back, we can see that God was preparing him for a level of responsibility that would have crushed him if it had come earlier. I think about Moses spending 40 years in the wilderness tending sheep before God called him to lead an entire nation out of bondage. Those decades probably felt like exile, like his potential was being wasted in the middle of nowhere. But God was developing in him the patience, humility, and dependence that would sustain him through the impossible task ahead. Maybe I'm not ready for some of the things I'm asking for. Maybe my character needs more time to develop. My faith needs to deepen my understanding of what it means to depend on God instead of my own abilities needs to grow. Maybe the delay is actually protection keeping me from blessings that would overwhelm me or responsibilities that would consume me. My hands are tired from gripping so tightly to timelines and outcomes that were never mine to control in the first place. Tonight I want to practice something that goes against every instinct I have, letting go. Lord, I place these unfinished projects in your hands. That conversation I've been avoiding because I don't know how it will go. That decision I've been postponing because I can't see all the consequences, that healing I've been waiting for that seems to be taking longer than I expected. That breakthrough I've been praying for that hasn't come in the form I anticipated. You see the full picture when I only see this moment. You know how every unfinished thread will weave together in ways I can't imagine. You understand timing in ways that my limited perspective simply cannot grasp. And as I release these things, I feel my shoulders dropping, my breathing deepening, my heart rate slowing. Now let me tell you about the kind of rest God offers us, because it's different from anything the world promises us. This isn't just about being physically tired after a long day, though our bodies certainly need the restoration that comes with sleep. This is about something deeper, something that touches the places in our souls that stay weary no matter how many hours we spend in bed. Jesus said in Matthew 11, verse 28, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." He wasn't talking only about physical exhaustion. He was addressing the weariness that comes from carrying responsibilities. We were never meant to bear alone, from trying to control outcomes that belong in God's hands, from the mental and emotional strain of navigating life in our own strength. Sometimes our spirits need rest more than our bodies do. We need a break from the constant planning, the endless worrying, the calculations we run in our minds, trying to figure out how everything will work out. We need permission to set down the mental weight we carry from thinking we have to have answers for everything, solutions for every problem, strength for every challenge. Imagine setting down a heavy backpack after hiking all day. Feel that moment when the straps slide off your shoulders and the weight lifts away from your back. Your whole body sighs with relief. Your muscles begin to relax. You stand up straighter because you're no longer carrying what was bending you forward. That's the kind of relief God offers our souls when we come to Him with our burdens. Under His wings there is shelter. Psalm 91 tells us, He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. While we sleep tonight, He watches over us with a vigilance that never grows tired, never becomes distracted, never takes a break. We have guardian angels, ministering spirits sent to protect and serve those who belong to God. While our conscious minds rest, while our bodies restore themselves, there are spiritual forces working on our behalf, creating a hedge of protection around us that we cannot see but can trust completely. Last week I woke up in the middle of the night with my mind immediately racing toward worry. Bills that were due, deadlines that were approaching, family situations that felt beyond my control. But then, in that dark quietness, I remembered something that changed everything. God doesn't sleep. Psalm 121 verse 4 says, "Behold, he who keeps Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep." That means I don't have to be the one keeping watch over my life. I don't have to lie awake running through scenarios and backup plans. I don't have to be the guardian of my own future, because there's someone infinitely more capable, infinitely more wise, infinitely more loving, who has already taken that responsibility. He's already in my tomorrow, preparing the way, arranging circumstances, softening hearts, opening doors, providing solutions I haven't thought of yet. While I rest, He works. While I sleep, He plans. While I dream, He orchestrates. Even Jesus, who had the weight of the entire world's salvation on His shoulders, took time to withdraw from the crowds and rest in His Father's presence. He understood that rest isn't laziness. It's obedience to the rhythm God built into creation itself. When we wake up from godly rest, we're not just physically refreshed, we're spiritually renewed. Our perspective has shifted. Our priorities have realigned. Our trust in God has deepened simply because we practiced depending on Him. While we were unconscious, there's a peace that surpasses understanding, a peace that isn't based on having all the answers or controlling all the outcomes. It's the peace that comes from knowing we belong to someone who loves us perfectly, who has never made a mistake, who has never been surprised by anything that has happened in our lives. Even in uncertainty, even when circumstances haven't changed, there can be deep abiding peace that settles in our hearts, like snow falling silently on a winter night. So tonight, as we prepare for this sacred rest, let's receive it as the gift it is. My friend, as this day draws to its close, and we prepare to step into the restorative hours of sleep, I want to leave you with some truths to carry into your dreams and wake up with tomorrow morning. We've walked through this evening together, remembering the countless ways God showed up in our ordinary day, acknowledging the places where we struggled and felt our human limitations, and ultimately releasing everything into His capable, loving hands. Thank you for joining me in this sacred pause, for allowing me to share this time of prayer and reflection with you. When morning comes, and it will come with the same faithfulness that has marked every sunrise since the beginning of time, it will bring with it new mercies. Lamentations 3 verses 22 and 23 remind us that, because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed, for His compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. You'll wake up tomorrow with purpose flowing through your veins, with peace settled in your heart, with the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you belong to someone who sees you completely and loves you unconditionally. That situation you've been worrying about, the one that kept circling through your mind today, like a song you can't stop humming. God is working on it tonight while you rest. He's arranging circumstances, preparing hearts, opening pathways that you can't see yet but that are being formed even now. That person you've been praying for the one whose choices have been breaking your heart. He sees them too. His love is pursuing them with the same relentless grace that pursued you before you knew you needed it. Your prayers for them are not falling on deaf ears, but are being woven into God's perfect plan for their life in ways that your limited perspective cannot comprehend, but can trust completely. That dream that lives in your heart, the one that sometimes feels too big or too impossible or too late. He planted it there. The desires He gives us are often previews of the purposes He has planned for us. Wake up tomorrow, watching for His goodness, expecting His faithfulness, looking for the small and large ways He's moving in your life. May you sleep tonight, wrapped in perfect peace, knowing that you are deeply loved, completely valued, and eternally cherished by the one who formed you in your mother's womb and has numbered every hair on your head. You don't have to solve everything tonight. You don't have to have answers for every question or solutions for every problem before you close your eyes. He has never failed you before, and He's not going to start now. Every sunrise you've witnessed has been a testament to His faithfulness. Every breath you've drawn has been a gift of His grace. Every beating of your heart has been sustained by His love. If this prayer has touched your heart tonight, I'd love for you to hit that like button and let me know in the comments what you're most grateful for from today. Share one blessing, big or small, that reminded you of God's goodness. Subscribe to join our community of believers who gather here regularly to find peace in God's presence, and share this video with someone who needs to be reminded tonight that they are not alone. What's one thing you're choosing to surrender to God tonight? What burden are you ready to lay down? I'd love to pray for you, so please share in the comments and let's support each other in faith. Thank you, Lord, for this precious day you've given us, for every person who has joined us in this time of prayer, for the ways you've shown up in our ordinary moments and transformed them into encounters with your love. Thank you for the gift of rest, for the promise of tomorrow, for your perfect love that casts out all fear. Sleep well, dear friend. God has beautiful plans for your tomorrow, and His love will be the first thing that greets you when you wake. Until we meet again in prayer, rest in His perfect peace, walk in His unfailing love, and trust in His goodness that never ends.